So I guess till we are waiting for other people to come, I guess we can talk about what you must have researched something about this, right? So like, what did you find? What do you think this is? Let's talk about that. You can unmute yourself and speak if you like.
GSoC is a, I mean, it's an event wherein everyone contributes to the open source. It's an event wherein the coders from all levels, being from beginner to expert level, can participate, and it is a it acts as a bridge for getting people to get to to get to the jobs that they actually want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Okay. Anyone else? And can you please
GSoC is a global.
and before you speak, can you just give a brief intro, like at least your name? Just if someone was speaking, right? I was just telling you say your name before you speak something. So okay, so I guess only one guy had Google search it. Nice.
Can I speak?
Yeah, sure.
Myself, Suryan Gupta. I have researched that it is a global program under which students have to learn and make projects from which Google uh, select some students for some internship types like that stuff.
Okay, great, nice. So you were partially right.
May I speak?
Yeah, sure. And tell your name before you speak.
Okay, my name is Nakul Sharma, and I discovered that GSoC is an initiative by Google to promote open source culture. It involves participation of open source organizations in GSoC, and it hires, not hires, it recruit. I'm not getting the right term for it. मतलब वो लोगों को पार्टिसिपेशन का मौका देता है उनके ओपन सोर्स डेवलपमेंट के लिए जिसको गूगल फंड करता है.
Okay, yeah, you pretty much got it.
Thanks.
So I guess we can
Start.
yeah, we can start. I guess that's exactly what I was saying. So okay, let's talk about Google Summer of Code. And as Nakul just summarized it was a proper summarization from what I understood. So when you talk about Google Summer of Code, the first thing which comes to your mind is open source, right? Because open source is used a lot in our industry. Open source, for the people who don't know, is basically uh, a repository, whether it is a framework, it is a software, anything which is open for the world to see that what code they have written. And then most of the time, they are also able to contribute to that particular code. And like open source is literally everywhere. Whether let's say Facebook uses the UI framework React to make its UI components, right? So it is an open work framework. Let's say Google wanted to develop its own uh, software language to make a faster software application. So they made Golang, but they made it open source, so everyone could use it. So what I'm trying to say is that open source is usually like the default method which companies go to if they wanna build a new framework and stuff like that. And there are also a lot of companies which are built on open source structure. For example, Red Hat and stuff like that. And yeah, so moving on to that, GSoC is basically a initiative taken by Google to encourage this kind of open source culture, to make people more willing to contribute to this kind of projects and the benefits they gain from it. Like the three obvious benefit which you gain if you do Google Summer of Code is first of all, you learn some great practical skills because what you are doing would be used by someone, right? And in the process of doing your Google Summer of Code, you get to interact with your mentors because mentors are assigned generally when you are doing Google Summer of Code. So you get to have a great connection with them, and and you also get a lot of exposure doing Google of Summer of Code because uh, yeah, because you get to meet new people, you get to talk to the people who are consuming the code itself. Because most of the time, people who have some problems will directly come and put up an issue in that particular repo, and so. So to give you a gist of how it works, the step one would be to once let's talk about the Google Summer of Code 2001, right? So in I guess in end of January, uh, they will basically have every community or the community which would be participating in GSoC to propose their particular projects, and by most probably February, will they will the projects will be approved and you will get a list of all the projects which are there for your grabs in the which you could apply for in GSoC, right? So the first step as a mentee, if you want to apply, would be to go through those particular projects and see which you like and to choose which one you want to apply for, right? And after you get to browse a bit and see which one is resonating with you, you have to basically jot down a proposal which you have to give to that particular communities, which the mentors will decide and see if they want to approve or not, right? And yeah, once you get approved, you will basically spend all your summer coding, interacting with your mentors and solving those problems and basically coding. And so, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of things which you gain from participating in GSoC. You build a strong networks, you get awesome mentors, and you become a part of community which will also extend after you complete your GSoC. Right? You can be a silent contributor. You can help the people who are coming to the community who are new to what is happening and stuff like that. And of course, including all that, there is also a stipend which you get. So that's pretty good. So yeah, the proposals are going to open from March 29, 2021. So keep an eye on that and please do apply. Like I cannot like it's not that hard that you might think about it. Like last year in 2020, 71.7% of people who were selected in GSoC were first time applicants. They have never proposed any project before in GSoC. And as some of you might know that the top 10 universities which highly contributed in GSoC or who had the most number of mentees were 9 out of them, 10 of those schools were from India, right? And so these are all the perks which I told you about. Why you should contribute in GSoC and at least give it one try, right? But there are also certain things which people get wrong about GSoC, which I want to talk to you about currently. So to sum it up, there are certain things which people do wrong or get wrong about GSoC. Like this way of approaching open source culture in general is not a good thing, and we shouldn't promote that. And if you have like this intention at going into it, then probably long term open source won't be beneficial to you. So the first one would be lust. Like when you go through the list of projects which are over there, you would probably be inclined to apply to as many places as possible. But try not doing that. Try to minimize your proposals to maximum 2 or 3 organization or communities, because you need to have a proper proposal. If you have too many of proposal, you may not be able to contribute well in them, and you won't be able to focus on, like, you won't be able to have a good proposal in your hand, right? Second one. The second one is also very important. While you make your proposal, make it realistic. Don't make it so that you are adding the features which know you wouldn't be able to complete in the period of which you are having GSoC, or which you wouldn't be able to implement yourself. Like, when you do that, like, mentors sometimes get a gist of, like, you are over proposing or making your proposal look unrealistic. In a way, you are over achieving something. So try not doing that with your proposal. Be accurate and plan precisely on what all things you want to do, and jot it down in your proposal. Don't over prepare, don't under prepare. Make it as precise as possible, right? uh, Third, yeah, third is also very common. People usually do it for greed. Like, uh, of course, incentives are there, but if you look at it in this way, it would be a short term benefit for you. You wouldn't be able to gain a lot if you view GSoC in this way, because the main the main reason for you to contribute in GSoC or being excited about it is a community which you would be being the part of, like the new things which you will learn, the new people you will interact with, the connections which you will make. Those will go long term instead of focusing on this particular things, right? And the next one would be, uh, right, yeah. So usually what happens is, when you are looking for your organizations and you are starting contributing in it and looking what can you do, what are the things over there, there are also other people who are GSoC aspirants, right? They are also wanted to get over there, and even if they are, you try to build a constructive relationship with them. If you get impatient and you be a bit rude, then it probably reflects to all the community members, and that might decrease your chances, right? And in general, it's not a good practice to do in open source. uh, yeah, so there's that. And the next one would be envy. Yeah, this, like, open source is exactly opposite of what envy is. You share what you make. If you don't share your knowledge, if you constrain it to yourself, then probably this won't be beneficial or exciting for you in any way if you get into GSoC. So make sure that whatever you do, share what you learn and stuff like that. Because the other motivation people have in GSoC is to share their journey with other people and show what they have done, what they had learned, what blocks they had in the way, how they encountered them, and stuff like that. So this is a very important aspect of any uh, GSoC mentee, right? They usually like to share what they have learned with the people all around them. And yeah, this one would be pride, because most of the people are too scared or have too much pride to not ask help from their mentors, or like even as little as going to the community channel and asking for some guidance on what they have to do or not do. So don't don't let pride take over your chances to learning something new and getting a great connection, right? Like, everyone in open source is welcoming, and if you ask properly, be polite, you will always get a positive response from them and work accordingly, right? Because everyone over there is there to learn. And the last one would be Sloth. It is basically, once you become a GSoC mentee, it doesn't end over there. You become part of that community itself. So even after your GSoC is over, you probably should, and if you do it properly, you would be willing to like be engaged in the community, contribute to it, help the new members who are coming in that particular community to uh, to show them around and how things work, to check their PRs and stuff like that. So that is also one of the things which you take away from GSoC. You become part of that community itself. It's not that once GSoC ends, you would not be part of that community. So you would stay that way. And yeah, what if you don't make it? This might happen. This might get you distressed, but don't worry about it, because like in open source there are a lot other places where you can get opportunities. Like there are certain outreach programs which are also encouraging for people to contribute. Uh, there are community bridge internships which are done by Linux Foundation, which you can apply on. There are also some um, internships which Force Asia gives by their own, which you can apply from. Like there are a lot of opportunities for you out there, even if you don't make it in GSoC, right? And even if you don't, you can try again next year. If you are in university, you can always apply for them, whether you are a BTech, MTech, or a PhD student, right? So moving on from that, let's have a Q&A session with people if you have anything.
Dhruv, you can tell who we have available.
Yes, I was just looking into. Are you talking about Winter of Code or the people who had done GSoC?
Kush and Ajat, you can give
Yes,
your intro.
yes, exactly. So yeah, we have it today. Kush and Ajat, they were basically passed out GSoC graduates, and they are also our seniors. So if you have any doubts, this is the right time to ask them.
Excuse me, I have a doubt.
Yes.
So, like currently, I haven't started on web development yet, and I only know means programming like Python and C++. So, will web development, this JavaScript, CSS, and HTML knowledge of that will be required for open source and GSoC, or I can continue without it?
Am I audible?
Yes, Kush.
So you don't specifically need web development to excel into Summer of Code. Summer of Code has around 100 plus communities, and they have wider projects including C++, Python, machine learning, Ruby, Scala, Swift, and the programming language which you might or I myself haven't heard about them. So web development is not a compulsion or it's not a necessary requirement. Neither is JavaScript.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask mine now?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm entirely new to this, so I wanted to ask that what are the prerequisites or basic things one should do before appearing for it?
So the only prerequisite for Summer of Code is knowing how to make an open source contribution, and you need to know Git, and you need to understand what Git is, how Git CLI operates, and you need to have a GitHub account or GitLab account. Other than that, you can see what all organizations are over there. Dhruv, if you can just navigate over to the Summer of Code website and show what all organizations are there.
Yeah, I was doing that exactly. So if you search GSoC in your browser, like probably in the mid Feb, you will get a list of all the uh, pro- projects which are proposed by the organization. But for now, you can check the archive and see for the last years which particular organization had proposed which kind of project and which people were involved in it. So let's say let's go to 2020. So here are all the list of the organizations which participated in GSoC, let's say. And of course, you can filter it out by what you like, what you want to contribute in. So let's say, for example, let's take OC as an organization, right? So here's a quick idea of what they are working on, what particular projects which they have. And probably if you scroll down, you can see the graduated mentees over here from the last year's GSoC program. And you can check out what they worked on. So if I want to go into detail on what they particular work on, I can see that uh, what exactly they worked on. Let's say uh, they have a detailed report. As I said, in GSoC, half of the thing is to for you to share your experience with other people and show what you had learned, show what you had, which obstacles which you had made. So you can get a pretty good idea of what kind of projects they had last year, last year, and judge yourself accordingly whether you will be able to contribute or not. And also adding to that, one more important thing you should probably start doing when you are interested in an organization is go to their GitHub or GitLab account and just first of all browse to the code which they have, right? What kind of project they are making. So in their case, yeah, in this particular organization's case, you can see all the repos which are over there. You can go ahead, look at the code, try to understand it for a day or two, and then probably if you are capable enough, and if there are peers in their particular repos, you can check out the issues which they have, and you can ask whether you can solve that particular issue or not, right? And like contributing uh, before before submitting your proposal is a good thing to do generally. It helps your chances and makes the mentors more confidence confident about your capabilities, right? So that particular thing you should probably do. And also adding to that, there are certain uh, whenever you check out an organization, you will get a link of the particular channel which they use for communication. It may be a mailing list, it may be a IRC channel. So it will probably redirect you to, let's say, their in this case their Gitter channel or like their Slack channel or their Discord channel, and you can go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell what you know, what you are working on, and tell them if there are certain things you can work on or a issue you can contribute on. Then that would be a great start if you want to do something before you submit your proposal, right?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I had a question. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So like, how exactly are we supposed to contribute? Like, how would we know what is going to vibe with us? Like, for example, like, I know how to code. Like, I know how to use Python and C++. But how will I know what I can do to contribute to that team?
Kush, do you want to take this one?
Can you pardon the last part? I wasn't
I
able
mean,
to.
like, Yeah, like I know how to like use Python and C++, but like how am I going to be useful for them? Like with my skill set, like my current skill set.
So you'll have to navigate into the bug tracker or the issue list, which you can see into the GitHub. And then most of the organization, what they do is they have a certain label, good first issue. If you will just sort the issues on the basis of good first issue, you will be able to see what all issues are present on their code base. You will have to click on each and every issue, and you have to see that which issue you are able to understand, and you think that okay, you can fix it, or which or which issue is pretty easy to fix, and you know you can do it quickly. Then, as Drew said, you will have to contact the mentors and go ahead and then contribute to it. So you first need to know a little bit about it, and you will have to see what all issues are present over there. So it's not like that you will be creating the issues yourself and you will be fixing the issues yourself. The issues are already created in their bug tracker. There's a list of issues which are already known. So you just have to navigate over there. You just have to read what's the issue is, and you just have to think what can be an optimal solution to fix this issue.
Yeah. So let's take the example of this particular organization itself. So you know that according to your skill set, let's say you want to contribute to their Android project. Let's say. So like first, it will probably take you 1 or 2 days to uh, go through their code base and understand what they are doing. So once you do that, then you can check out the issues which are there in their particular repos. Like probably usually the good organizations which are there, they label their particular issues depending on like these are for the newcomers and you will be easily able to solve them and stuff like that. In this particular case, I don't think they have done that, but usually good organization does. And you can check out what the particular issue is. If you think you can solve it, but you are not able to understand, then again, as I showed you, this particular organization had a IRC channel, right? So you can go ahead over here. You might probably find a lobby for that particular project itself, and you can introduce yourself in a polite way and say that I was planning on tackling this particular issue, let's say, and I want some help or what your doubts are, and probably someone will help you.
Yeah, thanks.
And while doing that, like try to be as formal and good as possible. Like I already told you the 7 sins which people usually do when they contribute to this kind of projects and or when they interact with the community itself. So like I can't emphasize enough, but please keep them in mind. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Guys, you could like if there's some doubt, you could post it on the GSoC channel in Discord as well. We will send there also.
Only if you are shy.
Can you tell us
Yep.
an example, like how big of an issue do we solve in GSoC? Like how big are the contributions that we make?
I didn't get your question. Can you repeat?
I'm asking how big contributions do we make? Like what are the contributions that we make?
How big
Like can you tell some?
when you are contributing or when you are fixing a bug? That's what he wanted to ask, right?
Yes.
I still didn't get your answer. Kush, if you understand,
Like,
maybe
can you give us some examples of the contributions we make?
Let me just share my screen if it's visible.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Kush.
Is it visible?
No.
No, not yet, Kush.
And also, important thing I forgot
Let me just rejoin the meeting in a minute.
Yeah. as Som told in chat, it is not compulsory for you to have been contributed before in the project for you to submit a proposal, but it generally helps.
I have read somewhere that fixing the documentation also counts as a contribution, like just finding errors in the documentation.
Fixing documentation is not really which will help you in long term in that case. Like if you are really into making a proper documentation for a project, there is a certain thing called uh, Google's Summer of Docs, which is
Okay.
literally meant for that. Like you prepare a proper documentation for a particular repo, which you can check out if you want.
Okay, thanks.
Like that, what you just said is not the is not how open source is. You should see open sources. You won't be able to gain anything if you look at it in that way. Look at it in a way in which you want to expand what you know. You want to get a practical experience. Like if you do that kind of stuff, it really won't give you any practical experience. It would not make it would not impress anyone, the
Yes, of course.
community and stuff like that. So
Hello.
Yes,
Um,
your screen is
So my screen would be visible now.
yes.
So the question which you asked, that how big your contribution should be or how long it should be. Just a minute. Let me just show you few of my PRs which I made when I was preparing for my summer of code. So I was in summer of code student with CNCF organization where I worked on layer 5 as well as on white community. So the PRs which I made were basically related to UI stuff initially, and then I focused upon the server part. Yes. So the first PR which I opened in the community was a simple documentation PR, in which what I did was I just added the issue and PR template for the organization. This is a very easy issue and quite simple. So anyone who doesn't even know coding can get into an organization and make some documentations PR. Such PRs doesn't obviously count towards your contribution since these are pretty naive. So one of the larger PR which I made in the community was Mm. So this was the project which I worked upon. And I had around 145 PRs during my summer of code and after the summer of code. Yep. So this was the PR, which was one of the major PR before my summer of code, in which I added ESLint rules and fixed the UI code according to the rules which were added. This was also a pretty simple PR because most of the work here was done by ESLint. If any one of you knows about JavaScript, then they should be knowing that ESLint is a rule enforcer or style enforcer. So this was one of my major PR, which added which added myself into the limelight of the maintainer and the mentor of the project. And the second major PR which I made was about correcting the build command and providing a scoop at manifest, like adding the CI/CD pipelines. So this was also around 37 lines of PR. So your contribution doesn't have to be big enough. If you are just contributing a PR of 100 lines or 200 lines, that's sufficient to get spotted.
Okay.
And I just saw the chat, and if you guys want to poke anyone who have graduated GSoC over here, I would like to tell that Sahil is also in the chat with us, so you can ask him questions too. Hi, Sahil.
Is my voice audible? I have a doubt.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a doubt regarding the proposal. So, does the format remains same for all organizations, or the format differs according to the organizations?
There's no format for proposal, but there are a few organizations like Posacia and Koala, which gives you a predefined template. So, like what most of the students do is they write around 10 to 15 pages of proposal, and there are a few organizations which do not judge you upon the quality of proposal you are writing, but rather they see that how good or how capable of a coder you are, which means that how many previous contributions you have made and how many previous PRs you have made. So such organizations have a predefined template of around 2 to 3 pages, which you can fill quite easily. And like for CNCF and other organizations like the Linux Foundation, the Ruby and Rails, they don't have any format. You can decide the format yourself, and we will share you a drive with you guys where there are proposals of me, Ajat, Sahil, and other GSockers which have graduated.
Okay, thanks.
And if you want to check any one of the proposals, I guess you can find them freely on internet. Like everyone who usually is a GSoC graduate tries to help other people, and you might find their proposal online if you look hard enough. And you can always ask for Kush and Sahil's and Gagandeep's and Ajit's proposal if you want.
Maybe we can take a pause for the Q&A and do WoC, then we can come back to the Q&A.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So guys, you can meanwhile think of any questions you have, and at the end we can take a Q&A again. Both GSoC and WoC.
Tanuj, do you want to take this one up?
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
So, like GSoC, we decided to do something at a college level to give you an experience of GSoC. So, what basically Winter of Code is that exactly like GSoC, what you do is there are a bunch of projects and a bunch of mentors, and you as a student will submit a proposal to a project and work upon that for a month. So exactly how you do that is, let me go one by one by a timeline. So how it does is, how we are doing is that we have started mentor registration from today, and you will see some mentors are already present and some projects are also present. So we'll do this till 20th, and by 11th you should see some projects or many projects already there, and you can start registering from as a student. And till the 1st of February you can look at the projects and propose and submit a proposal for a project you like. How you do that is like, suppose this is a project we have now. If you suppose you think this project is for you, like for you, I mean that you should have some experience in the technologies associated with that project. Maybe you have done a project in fashion, or you have done some course or etc. So like if a project is particularly in Python or something, you should have some experience in doing that. Or another way you can go for a project is that there are some many mentors here, and if you feel that none of the projects here are not something you want to do, you can pick any of the mentors here and contact them directly via email or phone to know what they work on. They have written a short bio about themselves, and you can also check them on GitHub or LinkedIn, and you can talk to them. And that mentor will, if he or she likes the project you are proposing to him, he'll uh, create a project here, and then you can submit a proposal for that project. So then after you submit a proposal, we'll begin coding. We'll announce all the students that we have selected for the all the projects by the 12th of February, and we'll begin coding on 14th, which is I think after the end trimester examinations, and we'll continue this till the 15th to 20th March, in which you will submit your GitHub repos for evaluation, and then the next week you will get the final evaluation from us. So in this particular 1 month time, about 1 month time, you will work with the mentors, and like it happens in GSoC, the mentor will help you with anything, any doubts, and you can work on any project you'd like, and this will be a good addition to your resume, I guess. If you have any doubts in this, I will have to clarify.
Yes, I wanted to ask that those people who are not able to apply this time, when will the next time you initiate this? After how long?
Should I
Winter
take
of
this
Code
one?
is
Yeah, Dhruv,
oh,
continue.
so good.
Yeah, so basically, we are a community who like to code. So we we're thinking that if this Winter of Code goes well, we'll obviously hold it next year also during December, I guess. But it's not just that during Winter of Code we propose projects and work on projects. During the whole year, we basically work for opportunities and people who we can collaborate with, and we also share our ideas for projects that we can work on, and throughout the year we build stuff. It's not just that we work during Winter of Code and then there is silence. We work out throughout the year, creating stuff, building things. So if you are interested, we also share uh, some of the projects on our Discord or in our community, and if you are like interested, you can also start working on them when somebody proposes something or somebody has an idea on some good project.
Yeah, and to add to that, like someone mentioned, the question was that if someone cannot apply to Winter F4, well, there is no like on paper there is no hard line prerequisite line for Winter of Code. If you think you are good enough for it, if you think that you make a solid proposal, then of course you can apply for Winter of Code this time as well.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and on the other part of the Winter of Code thing, so like you can, I think that Tanuj pretty much summarized it quite well, that you can have like decent enough projects that you can show off to people. You can learn a lot of things. You can learn a lot about GSoC and open source in general. So if Dhruv, perhaps you can shift to either the if you want to showcase some of the project, or otherwise we can shift to Q&A or something.
Do you want to do that?
Dhruv,
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, just before we move to that, like Just to clarify for the projects, there would be a list of projects that would be floated on the site, but you can propose your own projects, and for that, like anyways, they mentioned that the mentors are mentioned and their GitHub links are also there. So you could check their profiles and see what areas they work on and propose your own project.
Yeah, so this is something that is really important. Don't spam like everyone for this. You can check out. We have mentioned the profiles of all the mentors, so you can check out what fields they work in, what sort of projects they have developed so far, and perhaps they will be willing to mentor you on that. So they have also specified a bit on in the about section. But if you feel that you need to explore a bit more, you can contact that mentor via email or phone, and you can ask them to float the project, and then you can file a proposal for that project.
Harsh, adding, yeah, exactly. That was my point. You can also ping them on Discord. Every one of the mentors should be in our Discord. On our Discord, yeah.
Yeah, and we can perhaps create specified channels for Winter of Code where you can contact mentors and something.
Yeah.
Also, there will be some there will be some specific format for proposal as well. I think we can share that with you after this call ends, so you can have a look around. And that will be pretty much parallel to something that you propose in GSoC, so that you get an experience on how to make proposals.
So these projects are really good examples of what you can do in a short amount of time and not knowing much. So these three projects were mostly done by students of, I think, when they were in starting of second year or ending of the first year. Yeah, and this was the Devlop website. This was made on Vue, and I don't think Sandesh knew anything about Vue that time. And this is the mid scheduler. I think you know about this. And this is the SDA site. All of these were made in very less amount of time, and all were done by second year students.
Yeah.
Who were interestingly in their first year at their the time that they actually contributed to these repositories.
Also, regarding that channel thing that I mentioned before, so you can perhaps pitch your ideas on Discord as well, and then mentors can take that up. But I think it will be more convenient if you, it will be more effective if you just email them. Sorry to interject. Perhaps you can continue. So.
No, I'm done. Tanush can continue, I guess.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, let's take questions for Winter of Code first, if you have any, and then we can move on if you have any questions about GSoC or not.
So we can contribute on like anything, right? Like I'm a beginner and I'm learning front end development right now. So can I? I'm learning. So can I already start contributing to something or try something?
Obviously.
You can check the projects that will be added here by 12th. If you think this is something you can do, you can apply a proposal to this project, or if you want, you can propose something that you think you can do, and if a mentor agrees to take that, you can work under it.
Yeah, and I suppose many of those projects will be not very what should I say, technology heavy or what should I hectic, in a sense that you won't be able to do it if you don't have a mastery or something. Am I right?
Yeah, so most projects are generally not exactly beginner friendly, but you should be able to do it if you are good enough and you think that you will be able to put some hours into it. So yeah, that should not be tough. But certainly you have to be dedicated for it, and you have to make a good enough proposal for it. Are there any more questions for Winter of Code or Google Summer of Code? So the target audience for Winter of Code would be primarily second year, and if someone in first year has a good enough knowledge of programming or something, tech in general. And also, since this session is primarily meant as a GSoC session and for second year, right? If you have any questions in second year regarding the 7 sins that Dhruv mentioned in his slides or something, or if you are not sure on how to make a proposal or which organizations to apply. So like I saw the charts that you guys filled in, like 60% of people don't know which organization to apply. So perhaps you want to ask how to choose that, something in depth or something. So if you have anything, please make sure that you get your doubts cleared. We have people here that will be happy to help.
Nobody has any questions.
So like I did not understand how do we propose something like on the Winter of Code website, like what do we do? We go to someone's can you just tell that again?
So can you perhaps show the...
I can show that. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so as Harsh has already proposed a project, right?
Yeah, I have floated a project.
Yeah. Let me share my screen. Yes, is it visible? Can anybody confirm if it's visible or not?
No, it's not.
No.
It is
No,
not
it's
visible.
Yeah, so as you see, this is the home page, and if I just go and log in and sign in with Google, it will give me an OAuth screen, and I have I'll use this dummy ID that I created, which is just a student ID. Suppose, yeah, this is just a student ID, and suppose if I want to work on this project, I am very interested in artificial reality, and I am pretty much familiar with all of these, and I understand what the mentor means in the description. I'll just click on add proposal and give a drive link to your proposal.
A PDF file or something.
Yeah.
Google Docs.
So for example, just for test purposes, if I write google.com over here, and when Harsh will log in, he will have a dashboard over here. You will have a dashboard also over here where you can update your proposal, and your mentor also has a similar list where he can check out your proposal, and after that you'll be notified when the proposal period ends if your proposal is selected or not. That is the basic flow of it.
Also, just to add, like it's not that you just randomly go and drop the proposal. It is ideal that you first talk to the mentor and go through some of the basic details. He can help you draft the proposal as well to some extent.
Yeah.
Don't just
That
go
will. Yeah, continue on. Sure.
Yeah, I was just saying, don't just drop a document. I'd rather first talk to the mentor.
Yeah, perhaps understand the project, understand what he means by this stuff and what he requires from it and all that sort of thing. Also, if you don't see a project here that you wanted, you can just contact a mentor that you think that should float the project. Then that would be it.
Okay.
That is it, I guess. I hope you understood what the flow is, right? Soumik?
Yes.
Cool.
Sure.
So are there any more WoC or GSoC questions?
Yeah, I do have one more question.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like suppose like if I'm good at solving questions that are usually like coming for like competitive programming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like if I'm good at solving that, does that make me good enough to participate in one of these like DevlUp Labs or like Winter of Code or Summer of Code? Does that make me good enough for that?
I don't think there is much of a relation to...
Depends on the project actually, and depends on how much are you willing to learn about the project. Like we generally don't have much in common with competitive per se, although there is some amount of problem solving required here as well. But say, for example, there is a project that is related to, for example, Node.js. So it depends how willing are you to learn Node.js and how good are you in learning things and all that. So yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So if I think nothing more, so perhaps we can end this. Perhaps we
Just
can wait a couple minutes more.
yeah, if anybody has any doubts.
It's kind of surprising, like there are very few questions. Last year we had just a Q&A which went for 2.5 hours on GSoC, I believe.
Yeah, and it was completely filled. I remember Rajat giving the presentation, and the whole 300 seater room was filled by first yearites and second yearites.
Last call.
Or maybe just bring up the Discord QR if you have it. People can join it right now. Yeah.
Yes, we can have an informal talk over there if
Yeah.
people are more comfortable
I'm
with it.
just saying if you guys have the QR code for the Discord, you can share it right now because I don't think they have
Hey
access.
guys, what's the timeline for GSoC this time? Not aware.
I think Dhruv mentioned it 25th of March. 25th, I think. Dhruv, can you confirm?
Yes, let me share my screen altogether if you want to talk in
So
detail about that.
it's similar to the timelines that we had before, right?
Yes.
It will just end early this time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, then my suggestion would be to all the participants here would be that if you are looking to get into GSoC, then I'd suggest that you start now. Okay, so I mean, as early as you start, the better chances you have.
Hello, I wanted to ask how many recommended number of proposals, proposals and contribution we would suggest we should make in the open source community.
Are you talking about the GSoC proposal?
Yeah.
So I would recommend 2.
And
one is too less. One is too. Yeah. Continue. What was your second question?
What is the recommended number of contributions which should be made from once?
So rather than counting the number of contribution, I would say measure your impact. Okay. So if you think that you have made significant impact in the project through maybe one PR itself, then that's okay. But if you are making 10 documentation PRs that just fixes some typo, then that doesn't count.
Yeah, thank you.
So just measure it in terms of impact.
Hello. I had a doubt. Can I ask?
Yeah.
So I have been contributing to an organization, Rocket Chat, for the past few months. The only problem I face is the mentors are not really active there. It takes quite a bit time for them to review the PRs, and it can be really frustrating at some time. So what would you do if you were in my position?
Okay. So is your organization really active for the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, the mentors are few, 1 or 2 only.
Okay, it's not about the mentors. I'm asking whether your organization has participated in the
active,
previous season.
5-6 years it's active.
Okay. And your mentors, they do review your PRs, right?
Yeah, they do, but like it takes time. That
How
can be
much
like
time?
frustrating.
How much time are we talking here?
Probably like weeks. Like, should I ping them on their IRC channel?
So yeah, you can ping them, asking for review. Just don't bombard them. So it's okay because many of the people in the open source community, they also have their day jobs and personal stuff as well. So this is not their full time job. So expect delayed answers, replies. Okay. So one of my PRs, it got merged in I think 1.5 or 2 months. So it's not a problem.
Okay, thanks.
I had one question. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shantanu, go ahead.
I had this question that suppose like we have a proposal paper, and let's say I took the idea, took the inspiration from the existing errors or existing whatever they have, like whatever bugs or patches they want. Can we do it like that, or does it have to be something entirely new?
No, it can be anything. I mean,
Some existing error they have, some existing thing they want updated or added, or
yeah, it can be actually. Some of the
Actually,
projects are,
that's a better project, I would
yeah,
say. Rather
because you're
than working
already,
on a new project, you should work on a project that is already there.
yeah, and many of the projects that will be proposed are following the same ideology. You will be already contributing to some of the projects that, like, you'll be enhancing some of the projects that are already there on our repository, in our organization.
it's like I can take some issue and like, make it really big and
Yeah,
move
it can be a bug fix, it can be an enhancement, it can be a feature which you think should can make some project better. It can be anything.
Okay, thank you.
Like one more thing to add, like someone asked, like if they're not able to become a part of WoC this year. So instead, you can try to keep working on our existing repos, and like you can just contribute to what we already have. We have certain issues over there. You don't need to work on a full-fledged project as of now. WoC you can do that.
Earlier, you mentioned that there are other projects which the seniors are working on. So, can you tell me what is the other way instead of like directly approaching them, where I can view the projects which are going on or which have been there or which may be there in the future?
Yeah, sure. Can you, Dhruv, can you GitHub page?
So yeah, for that you can check out our GitHub page, or you can check out the WoC Labs website. So projects are featured in it. And also the best way to do is to check out the GitHub, and you can have information on tech stack as well as issues that we have made. And you can work on those. Dhruv, perhaps you can show you.
Also, Harsh, can you share the screen again and go to the mentors page on our web?
Yeah, just
So I think all the mentors, they also have their GitHub links linked there.
And
you can
LinkedIn too.
open their, yeah. So I mean, he's talking about projects, right? So go to someone's GitHub anyway. I mean, you can just follow as it is. This Sahil, and go to Sahil's contributions. Or he also has these pinned repositories. As you can see, the Sahil is contributing to Zulip. Now, if you feel that Zulip is too much to begin with, he must also have some others as well. Harsh, can you see if Sahil has contributed to any of the developed projects?
Yeah.
That will open DevlUp Labs. I mean, go to his profile itself because these people won't have this access. Right? I think you can just see by ear. It will just show the organization name in the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here he has contributed to some people. So Sahil has contributed to WSC portal itself. So in a similar way, you can just stalk all the mentors on GitHub and see what all the projects they have worked on and see if one of those projects interests you.
And also apart from that, like you don't only have to consider projects which are on develop. You can work on the personal projects that those guys have.
Yeah, and you can also, I think there's also this option on the WoC that you can pitch your own projects as well and ask the mentor if he or she wants to mentor. Right. We have that, right, Anshu?
So for that, I think.
Yeah.
Also, it has been talked a bit, but I think Aditya can specify it better. So there was this interesting statistic that I saw, and that 75.6% people who applied here are actually who are aiming for GSoC but don't know which organizations they should have. So if you can expand a bit more on that.
Okay. What is this data again? No, a target organization for GSoC. 75% don't know. So the question here is, how do they search for organizations?
Yeah, what like if they have a group, I think Dhruv clarified better on how do they search for organization. But say they have like 5 or 6 organization, how do they shortlist them? What to see in the target organization? Because of course they can't contribute.
There are a few factors to consider when choosing an organization. One would be how active that organization is in the past years. Second is how many folks actually apply to the organization. So, for example, if 500 folks apply to it, then the competition will be high, right? And your chances of getting in will become low. But in other case, if some organization has only, let's say, 50 applicants, then your chances of being selected is high. But the flip side to this is that why are people not applying to that organization? Maybe the projects are harder, right? Or where the competition is more, the projects are easier. So you will also tend to move towards those organizations. So two factors are these. Third one could be how interactive have you been with these organizations, if you have been. So if you have good interaction in some organization, I would say prefer that organization. And these are higher level points. Lower levels would be like if you don't actually have 4 or 5 organizations in your mind, then what is the first step? So in that case, look at your interests, like what language do you know, what kind of project would you prefer, what stream would you prefer. There could be many like WebD, AppD, machine learning, or algorithms. So someone was asking about competitive programming. Then there are also libraries that are written in Python, like NumPy, SymPy. I think Gagandeep did GSoC with one of these itself. So just find your niche, and then through that organization page, find 7-8 organizations, and then follow these previous points that I mentioned. So in that way, you can narrow down your organization choices. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a doubt that whether we have to choose between the organization or the project.
Okay. So ultimately, it's the project that you will be working on. I don't think that organization plays that much of a part, right? Uh, but again, they both go hand in hand. So a good project is probably with a good organization, right? So I mean, focus on the project, focus on that first, because there are many organizations you don't know about, and I don't think that you even care. But what do you actually care? You care about your personal growth and uh, like what you already know. So for example, some language or some interest. Through that, you will find a project. And does it really matter that which organization is maintaining that project, right? So I would say focus on the project. Organization you can choose.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
However, there are other benefits also included with choosing good organizations. So, for example, in Kubernetes, it was mentored by CNCF, which comes under Linux Foundation. And since it's the Linux Foundation, they organize many events outside of this open source world, like conferences and lightning talks and all. So that is also a good thing. However, Anshul, Kush, and I, we three got the scholarship for KubeCon. So these are some of the things that you can get if you choose a good organization. Okay. So also keep that in mind.
I just mention what the perks were actually. I don't think they'll realize what scholarship means.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was I think $2,000 stipend, which covered our air tickets to Netherlands and all the conference expenses. And the ticket was like the tier one ticket, so it's not like you are getting the cheap ticket, or you can say like the lower tier ticket. It was the best, and everything was included. So hotels and communication meetings, like networking meetings, that you can say, all access to those meetings, everything was included. So you can understand, like it could be that Linus Torvalds is there in that networking meeting. You get a chance to meet him. So uh, other folks as well, Kelsey Hightower, if you know him. Yeah. But but we were not able to go. But you have the chance. You guys can make it next time.
Yeah. So, yes. Anyone has any more questions?
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. So, if due to some factors, if we could not complete the issue we took in time, how is it gonna be?
It depends on the mentor actually. If the mentor thinks that your performance or you are a candidate that can do that project, and it's fine with your mentor who will be selecting your proposal. Then they can select your proposal. GSoC does not have any guidelines that you should have one PR or two PR.
And you can also continue the project after the timeline ends if you were not able to complete it because of some issues or something.
So there is no deadline sort of thing or like that something.
So you're expected to actually do something at least, and maybe complete also depending upon the project. But if the mentor understands that okay, the project might take more time than the proposed timeline, then yeah, you can continue working on that project past the timeline. Harsh Anand, can you maybe correct me if I'm wrong over here?
No, I think that's how it works. Perhaps Ajit can say more.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was this incident that you're talking about the proposal, but let me tell you the incident with me. So, my duration for GSoC was over, but the feature I was working on, it had a few like bits and pieces that were remaining to be integrated into the final master branch or for the feature to be complete. But the deadline of GSoC was already there, the final evaluation. So my mentors, they finalized my evaluation that okay, he has done satisfactory work to pass to graduate as a GSoC student. So it's completely an understanding with your mentor.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, guys, are there more questions on GSoC or Winter of Code? Yeah, regarding Winter of Code, there is one thing that we didn't mention. So if you complete your Winter of Code, there will be some goodies at the end of it. Probably stickers, maybe more. So yeah, that if that works as a motivation. Yeah, so perhaps we can end this home if there is not anything more. Dhruv, do you have anything else on agenda?
I guess we covered everything else.
Okay, so yeah, if you have any questions, then you can ask now or perhaps in the Discord channel as well. We will be there to answer those questions, and you can contact Ajit or Kush perhaps on email or something. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. I think that should be it from our side. Okay, so you guys can leave the meeting.